4 nuclear executive orders. One day, one mandate, move faster. My guest was inside the US DOE, the Department of Energy, when those orders hit and had to turn them into real action. He's Chris Ploch. Let's talk what is actually possible and what has to change to get there.
Welcome to Advanced Nuclear, the official podcast of UCAN Power, where leading experts, innovators, and policymakers explore the latest developments shaping the future of nuclear energy.
Welcome to Advanced Nuclear, the official podcast of UCAN Power, the United Coalition for Advanced Nuclear Power. I am Dominique, your host. Today's guest is Chris Ploch. Chris served in the U.S. Department of Energy and now works at Mission Strategies. I'd like to drop a quick note. The views Chris shares today are his own. Chris, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
And Chris, can you verify, am I saying it right, Ploch, your last name?
Ploch. You're not the only one that gets it wrong.
Okay, Ploch. Please forgive me if I screw it up later in the episode. But yeah, let's have some fun today.
Let's do it.
You ready to dive directly into it?
Let's get after it.
All right. So Chris, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, what's your story?
For sure. First of all, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on. Being a member of the board of advisors for UCAN is a blessing. And that kind of loops into my story a bit. Take it back 5-6 years ago, I was in law school. Didn't even know really what nuclear energy was, to be honest with you. Passed the bar, barred in DC and Florida right now. And then I was just trying to get my foot in the door. And I came across Congressman Byron Donalds from Southwest Florida. Hopefully the next Florida governor, but we'll see how the elections come up, how those shake up. But ultimately, got my foot in the door, started with him. I was a member of a 2-man legislative shop, and energy was one of the 20 plus different issue areas that I covered. So I kind of got naturally immersed into it. To make a long story short, kind of worked my way up through his office, legislative correspondent, legislative assistant, legislative counsel, and that kind of spanned 4 years. And ultimately, at the end of a legislative meeting one day, randomly the congressman pulled me aside and said, "Hey, let's start looking into nuclear." And from there, kind of the journey took off. He gave me an extremely long leash. I'm extremely appreciative and grateful for the opportunity to have a long leash. And, fast forward a couple of years within the congressman's office, and he was one of the main pro-nuclear advocates in the House of Representatives in Congress in general. So there's that. There's a lot of details that I left out that we may touch on later. But after that, the Congress ended and President Trump got elected. And Congressman Donalds was luckily endorsed by President Trump for his Florida governor run. And Congressman Donalds pulled me aside and said, "Hey, with the new president, there's a lot of administrative spots open. I'm not going to be doing too much in Congress. I'm going to be focused on Florida governor. Obviously, he's still representing his constituents in Southwest Florida, but he's got a goal to be the next Florida governor." So he kind of encouraged me to go the administrative route and kind of get a different perspective. So I did that whole process, and I was lucky enough to get an opportunity in the Department of Energy, specifically in the Office of Policy, which was a really great blessing in disguise. To be honest with you, when I first got into the Department of Energy, I didn't even know what the Office of Policy was or their role. I learned real quick what the Office of Policy's role is. And that's pretty much to coordinate everything that's happening in the department. When an executive order comes out, Office of Policy isn't the subject matter expert, but they go to the office that is the subject matter expert, and they communicate with the Department of Energy's front office, and they report directly to the secretary. So I think the first week that I got there, there were like 5 executive orders that came out, all energy related, and I literally hit the ground running, learned the process firsthand, and then that's fast forward to May 23rd when the 4 nuclear EOs came out, and the front office gave me a call and said, "Hey, heard about your nuclear background, and we need somebody to run point on the EOs." And I was up for the challenge, and it was nice that a lot of the EO content, it kind of carried over from some of the stuff that I was working on in Congress. So that was really nice. So I did that, and then when Ted Garris, Assistant Secretary for Nuclear, got confirmed by the Senate in October, I believe it was, he told me to come down to the Office of Nuclear Energy with him. And, my fast forward a couple months, and then I got the opportunity to work for Mission Strategies, which is a bipartisan multi-client government relations firm. And I am supporting their nuclear energy clients along with some other emerging technology clients. So that's a long-winded way of saying that I have a different background from some of the guests that are previously on this. But yeah.
I mean, it sounds pretty colorful. You've painted a picture that is extremely vibrant, that is related, but also unrelated. And then, it came together to, again, create this amazing portrait. And so thank you for sharing that. There are a few things that I want to pull the thread on as it relates to your story. So you said earlier that you didn't really know anything about nuclear energy. And when the congressman asked you to basically, lead the policy effort, where did you start? Like, from becoming smart about energy to where the policies are that could stand to be changed in order to promote faster building of new plants. Like, where did you start? Can you share information more about that?
It's a great question. I definitely had to get up to speed quick, but thankfully, when we had that conversation to look into nuclear more, I felt like nuclear was at an inflection point. Everything was just about to take off. So there wasn't too much conversation, but the conversation was occurring. So anytime me as a Hill staffer reached out to somebody from industry, they were always down to talk and teach me about nuclear. So I would just say getting myself out there. I remember going on some of the association's websites, and my first start was just going through their members of their members of their organization and reaching out individually to them. Hey, I'm Chris Ploch, Congressman Donald's nuclear energy staffer. Would love to connect. Would love to learn more about nuclear in your company. And from there, it just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. At the congressman's office, I sent out this, it was called Rep. Donald's Nuclear Update, which looped it back to UCAN, Lucian and Jeff and David and Brian McCormick back then. They received my nuclear update for 3-4 years of what was happening in Congressman Donald's office. So always have been a big fan of UCAN just in general. But so by the time I left Congressman Donald's office, I was sending out that nuclear update periodically every couple weeks, couple months, depending on how much stuff Congressman Donald was doing in nuclear, which was a lot. I think we introduced like 29 different nuclear bills in the 118th Congress, which is kind of insane.
That's remarkable.
But we were over 350 people that I was sending it out to, just sprinkled throughout the nuclear industry. And then it just kept continuing to grow. And I found out that everybody kind of knows everybody in the nuclear industry. Once you meet one person, they want to connect you with 5 others. And the web just kept growing.
I must admit, that's what I do enjoy about the nuclear community. They are arms wide open. If you want to learn about it, you want to get involved, they're all about it. And I love that. So you worked in the policy office at Department of Energy. I heard that correctly?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So, when those 4 executive orders dropped, did it feel like hey, this is different? Or did you perceive or think for a moment that this was just another big announcement that could essentially fade out?
Yeah, I mean, my initial thought was that the 4EOs were a game changer. Never in the history of our country has a president issued 4 strong nuclear executive orders to push the ball forward on nuclear energy. I mean, it just shows the leadership of President Trump and really builds off years after years of effort to get it to that stage. And now President Trump is taking it to the next level. So, I mean, the EOs came out and like I heard about them in the background before they came out. I heard they were coming, et cetera, et cetera. But then when they actually came out, people saw the final text of the EOs, and then, I mean, it was go time, and they needed somebody to come in and pretty much herd the cats. That's how I kind of framed my job at DOE. I was literally herding the cats. We had a implementation plan of the 4 EOs, 38 different deliverables, and each deliverable had a subject matter expert support what the role of those subject matter experts were, what the deliverable was, what the timeline was, and how we actually go and execute those deliverables. And my job was herding the cats, making sure everybody was on time, meeting the deliverables in the EOs, and corresponding with the DOE front office and the White House, making sure like it was up to par.
So let me ask you this: what was like? You said there were a ton of deliverables. There were a ton of deliverables. Which one do you think was the hardest deliverable?
Yeah, I mean, that's I guess it just depends on how you define hard. I went to law school, so it just depends. To me, there were a bunch of like ones that gave me more gray hairs, for example, that were stressful. I wanted to pull my hair out, but that's just government working, you know? You got to get stuff approved through the executive secretary process within DOE, have to get White House buy-in, got to get everybody singing from the same sheet of music. So a lot of those, if you consider that hard, it just makes you want to pull your hair out, but we got the job done. In terms of like one that was monumental for the industry, I mean, I think at this point, folks are familiar with the 3 reactors critical by July 4th, 2026. I know when that was getting drafted, there were folks in the building that were trying to make like red lines saying, we probably should do 2027, or like trying to loosen it up a little bit. But the folks at the White House really stayed strong on that. They drew a line in the sand and they said, let's go chase this goal. And it will change the country and will change the world if we can actually do this. And it will get us to move fast, which government isn't used to doing. So like right now we're 4 or 5 months away from July 4th. There are several companies that are looking good. I got an email from one of my partners the other day, and it was from like October, and he was talking to somebody, and they were talking about the EOs and this deliverable specifically. And it had like a bullet point, like 3 reactors critical by July 4th, 2026. And then it had like a colon, and then it said impossible. But fast forward several months, and we are looking really good. There are multiple companies that will very likely go critical by July 4th. And it's just going to have ripple effects for the industry and the world.
Oh, I totally agree. It's funny because that was going to be my next question. I was going to ask you if you could expound more on, what you saw with respect to that pilot program. And I mean, you've already answered the question I was going to ask with respect to, do you think we're actually going to reach criticality by July 4th of this year? It does sound pretty aggressive, but you're already in the know. So the answer to the question is yes, Dominique. It's looking very, very likely, which is a positive. Let me ask you this. If it slips, and let's just say, I don't know, 2 out of the 3 test reactors reach criticality by July 4th, would you personally still consider that a win?
It's a fantastic question. I would say yes, because the administration didn't know that we could get any reactors critical if we would have got one, that would have been a huge achievement, because in the history of our country, we haven't had any reactors go critical in several decades, which is a disappointment. I understand the Vogtle reactor in Georgia. That's a different ballgame than qualified test reactors that they're doing for the pilot program. So I would say yes, but I mean, go big or go home, and we're very likely going to have more than 3 at this point achieve criticality. So, I mean, that's just a resounding statement. And I mean, internally, it's not easy. Literally, companies are coming in, they're completely privately funded, and the companies are doing everything. And ultimately, the intent here was, industry, you say you could do better than government. Go do it. Go show us what you can do. And that was kind of the intent here. Let industry go and do it, and however the government can help, they're here for them. Any kind of challenges that come up, that's when the Department of Energy and other folks come in to assist. And then they're working side by side, hand in hand with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to ultimately get rid of some of the duplicative nature in the licensing process. And so that NRC can learn about the reactors as they're going through DOE authorization. And they don't have to recreate the wheel when they do seek commercialization. NRC can already be there, be familiar, and say the DOE authorization takes up 60% of NRC licensing. NRC only has the remaining 40% because they're already there every step of the way, which ultimately adds efficiencies in the process.
I mean, Chris, we are totally in sync, because my next question was centered around the NRC and licensing. I mean, I think anyone that's operating in the nuclear industry or is keeping up with how things are progressing, you know, licensing is extremely important. And, you know, that timeline is massive. So I want to know from you, is the NRC actually changing the way and speeding things up as it relates to licensing? Or do you think it's just like an org chart dance?
Both. NRC is actively rethinking how they do things, taking out some of the honestly stupid stuff that they've been doing for decades, that has been on the books for decades, like the non-contested hearing, for example. That's the one that people always point to, but other things that just add cost and inefficiencies to the process. And ultimately, the culture is changing from the NRC. I worked with the NRC every single week implementing the EOs. And I mean, the EOs gave the NRC a push, but the NRC is actively changing its culture. It's funny because Congressman Donalds, he was always sending letters to the NRC chairman, the commissioners, saying, hey, you need to hurry up. We wrote a letter about the uncontested hearing, for example, or like fee increases, or the Advisory Committee on Reactor Safeguards, you name it. Congressman Donalds was not afraid to write a strongly worded letter to the NRC. And kind of fast forward 3 years from that, I mean, the NRC is taking leaps and strides forward, which I never thought 3 or 4 years ago I'd be saying. But I mean, I'm optimistic. Obviously, you got to get through the red tape, the bureaucracy. But with congressional direction, the executive orders, and just people kind of embracing the challenge, the mission, I mean, I'm very optimistic.
Oh, that's beautiful. I was going to mention earlier, when you lightly mentioned Vogtle. So I was a co-op, young engineer as a co-op at Southern Company, Southern Nuclear. So they have a special place in my heart. Oh, yeah. I still have family members that work with Southern Nuclear. So
yeah, definitely. And I mean, just an interesting fact and kind of just rewinding just a little bit, I guess I get this question all the time. It's, why was Congressman Donalds interested in nuclear energy?
Oh my gosh. Chris, you're totally interrupting my list of questions here, but I love it.
I mean, it's a fantastic question. He represents Southwest Florida, which is like Naples, Fort Myers, Sanibel Island. There's no nuclear plants in his district. There's Turkey Point and St. Lucie on the other coast of Florida. So people always ask, like, why is he an advocate for nuclear? And just one thing that I always kind of like to point to, and it was when Vogel was going through its challenges, and I was there when it finally came online. Great moment for our country. Took longer than it should have, but you know how that goes. But Vogel actually provides power to the state of Florida. A lot of Jacksonville in the northeastern part of Florida gets their electricity from Vogel. So, I mean, that is a direct tie to the state of Florida. But I mean, ultimately, his reasoning for being a nuclear advocate was a couple of reasons. One, he saw international players, China and Russia, moving the ball forward. He thought to himself, there's no reason why the United States should be falling behind. We've been a leader for decades in nuclear power, but he, from a geopolitical leadership perspective, global competition perspective, he thought that there was no excuse for America to fall behind. And then also from like a national security perspective, obviously the more electrons we have on the grid, the more protected our energy infrastructure is, the more secure our country will be. And obviously we can go down the rabbit hole of that. And then finally, just he saw NRC as like, I don't want to say the black eye, but just as a growing bureaucratic agency. And his mindset was NRC was safety. And theoretically, if you don't ever license a reactor, that's the safest thing you can do. You don't put a reactor in the grid. And that, but from his mindset, he was just thinking NRC is just a bureaucratic agency that was here to like not kill nuclear power because he understands the value of NRC as a gold standard. But he saw the opportunity to reform bureaucracy, cut the red tape, and I mean ultimately help the American taxpayer and companies kind of navigate the process better and get cheaper electricity.
Yeah. So I have a I would say relationship workforce development question that I want to pull out of there, and then I also want to expound on the China and Russia piece. So understanding the bureaucracy that exists, not just at the NRC, but a lot of government organizations. How did the congressman navigate strengthening, number one, building and strengthening those relationships as he was outwardly vocalizing that, hey, we literally have to figure out ways to better navigate the bureaucracy, right? Like, how about, as you would say, stop doing stupid things, right? Like really spending the time to talk through what's necessary and what's really not necessary. How did he build those relationships? Because, some people feel threatened, when you're talking about like, hey, you're in the way. This is something that doesn't necessarily need to be done. Thank you. But this is something that doesn't necessarily need to be done, or it can be shifted a bit to the left or right so that we can continue to move faster.
Of course. No, it's a great question. And the thing that I love about Congressman Donalds is he's never afraid to speak how he feels, and he talks from the heart. He means what he says. He's not reading from a piece of paper. He's speaking from the heart. So when he calls out the NRC for doing dumb things that are not common sense, things that are inhibiting the future of nuclear energy in the United States and around the globe, I mean, he's not afraid to call them out. And the thing is, he's not just going to call them out behind the scenes. He was actually actively meeting with members of the commission. Multiple members, I was there staffing him, came into his office. And they expressed appreciation because you know how it is. The commissioners are talking about one thing, the staff's doing another thing. I mean, it's bureaucracy. And most of the time the commissioners came in and said, Congressman Donalds, we hear you. We appreciate you sending us your outreach. We hear you. And I mean, a member of Congress, with the support of other members of Congress, it sends a loud statement. And then, I mean, we drafted like 12 different op-eds on nuclear power in general. And ultimately, the more you talk about nuclear, the more the American public starts to feel more secure about it and comfortable with it. One op-ed was called like the fear of radiation, for example. So the more you talk about it, and I feel like just him having a voice in the nuclear industry and kind of really talking on a whole bunch of different topics in terms of nuclear. He never got down in the weeds on any particular one, but he covered a lot of grounds, which was nice to see the EOs come out because they also covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, I totally agree. But before we move into, I like to play this game of like a lightning round, and I suspect you're probably familiar with it. But before we get into that, when people say, China and Russia, they're moving super fast, as it relates to exporting nuclear, how real is that from your viewpoint? And I guess if you have some time, what does winning look like for the U.S. in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, just having a mindset of we need to do everything in our power as a country to move faster. This is a national security imperative to deploy advanced nuclear technologies as quickly as possible, both commercially and from a defense perspective. It is a national security imperative, and I think just people need to understand that. But if you read the executive orders, even like the first sections where they don't have directives, but they lay out the findings, the policy, the background, for example, the president lays out the national security imperative, and that is the president's stance on why we need to move faster and why he's saying things in the EO that he did. So I think that is it's a good opportunity to look ourselves in the mirror as a country and say, what can we do better? There should be no self-constrained action on our behalf because China and Russia, they're moving forward. They don't have the bureaucracy that the United States does. And ultimately, this 100-year relationships with emerging nuclear nations and just having that influence around the world, countries that are looking into nuclear, being able to go to China or Russia or the United States and have the full supply chain, the expertise, the regulatory side of things, build and operate, you name it. Having those relationships around the country, around the world, crucial. And we as the United States want to quote plant our seeds around the world so that American nuclear influence spreads, and that's kind of where geopolitical leadership comes in.
Oh my gosh, you are absolutely correct. I share the same sentiment. And the other aspect of that is people, right? Like, how are we going to be able to do all of this with people? People matter, which leads me to a question about workforce development. What would you say is, I would say, the most prolific bottleneck? Do you think it's the aging workforce that we're seeing on the nuclear side of things? Is it, a recruiting pipeline that's not as beautiful as we'd like for it to be, not as robust as we would like for it to be? What do you think the real bottleneck is with respect to workforce development and really building out, making sure that people are available to sustain these power plants?
Sure. No, it's a really good question. And I think my overarching thing is that the younger generation doesn't know about nuclear energy. They don't know the jobs are out there. When I was growing up, I played football. I was a student athlete. I didn't even, like I said earlier, I didn't even know what nuclear energy was. So it's really getting the education out there. I know that's a priority, and it's not just the high schools, for example. It's even younger, the middle schools, even the elementary schools. And then once you get above high school, the trades, the 2-year community colleges, 2 years, the community colleges, the trades, you name it. And I mean, one of the main things that I think is very underutilized is experiential learning, actually going to see nuclear power, see the wonders of nuclear power. I've been to several nuclear power plants, and I mean, every one that I've been to has been different. And it's just like an eye-opening experience. I've been to national laboratories. It's an eye-opening experience, and if I was a middle schooler and I went to Idaho National Laboratory, for example, and I saw the advanced test reactor, I'd be like, this is awesome. I want to do this. Uh, so I think it's just really the knowledge transfer, getting eyes like in person. It's one thing seeing a picture of it, which is cool, like seeing the Trankov radiation, the blue coming out of the spent nuclear fuel pool. That's cool seeing it in a picture, but imagine seeing it in person. So I think there's so much potential for the nuclear workforce, and we just have to think creatively. And I know the Office of Nuclear Energy is thinking creatively, and there were several nuclear executive order directives to challenge us as a United States government to think creatively and work together. We should all be singing from the same sheet of music. The Small Business Administration, the Department of Education, the Department of Energy should all be singing from the same sheet of music and moving together in lockstep.
We are singing the same tune. We are speaking the same language, and it sounds like we share a passion around workforce development. So I will be in touch about some ideas that are brewing.
Yes.
I also want to mention, just in a social way. I don't usually talk about like my time on TV, but I must say, when I was auditioning for a really popular show, I talked about my experience as a nuclear engineer and working in nuclear power. And I kid you not, I had a video excerpt from the blue glow, like the spent fuel pool, because that's what I worked in my short amount of time at Southern Nuclear. And I will tell you, seeing it in person, it's completely different from seeing it in a textbook or at a seminar. It definitely left a mark on me. And I'm like, it's science happening live in real time. It was an amazing experience. So let's get into the lightning round.
Okay, let's do it.
I assume that you've already done this before. You're familiar with how it goes. The first thing that comes to mind, that's what you share. And we're gonna do this in about 60 seconds, hopefully.
All right.
Are you ready? Biggest myth about nuclear that drives you absolutely crazy?
That's a great question. Just that it's dangerous. Nuclear, and especially today's technology, it's not our grandparents' technology. And I hate even that saying, because our grandparents' technology was safe too. But nuclear is like inherently safe, especially advanced reactors these days. It passes safety features, and a lot of them literally can't even melt down. They can't cause damage. They just turn off the reactor.
All right. Most underrated bottleneck: licensing, fuel, workforce, supply chain, or capital?
Oh man, I don't think capital is a bottleneck. I think we have more than enough capital out there, and you could see that with all the investments happening right now. I don't think capital is a bottleneck. I would say the top two for me are supply chain and fuel, which you can group fuel into the supply chain, but you know the chicken and the egg issue, and you can't have 400 gigawatts of nuclear by 2050 without the supply chain or without the fuel.
If you had $1 billion tomorrow, where does it go?
Yeah, that's a great question. It depends on which hat I'm wearing. If I'm wearing my mission strategies hat, I'm trying to leverage that to the client's needs and priorities, which ultimately impacts the whole nuclear industry. If one entity succeeds, others will follow. There's more than enough room for everybody to play. Obviously, you just have to, filter out the real reactors from the paper reactors, for example. Which technically, well, not technically with the reactor pilot program, but if I had all that money, I would say, oh man. I just feel like investing in the nuclear fuel cycle from all aspects, from mining, milling, enrichment, conversion, deconversion, fabrication, all of those, you can't run a reactor without fuel. Full stop.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. All right. So, what is the most overhyped thing in nuclear right now?
I mean, overhype is a good thing. People are excited about nuclear. That's a good thing. The more hype, the better. But as we have, as a country, know, I mean, there can be all the hype in the world, but we actually have to go and do it. We have to carry through, carry out. From my shoes, being an ex-Department of Energy employee, the president tells us to do something, you have to go do it. You could talk the talk, but you got to walk the walk. I would just say the most overhyped thing right now, though, which same thing, it's a good thing, but just the potential for nuclear. I mean, there's so many different applications. I mentioned them earlier. There's small, big, medium-sized reactors. There's defense. There's commercial. There's heat. There is a bunch of synthetic fuel applications. There's maritime. You name it. I mean, there's so many potential opportunities for nuclear. So, I mean, it is overhyped, but the opportunity is great. And as you can kind of tell over this conversation, I'm extremely forward-looking. I'm optimistic. I'm excited. We just have to go and do it.
Oh yeah. So I'm from Alabama, so from the South, and you probably are familiar with this old adage: actions, they speak louder than words every single time. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So best case, where are we by 2027?
By 2027, we're going to have more than 3 reactors critical in the reactor pilot program. We are going to do a bunch of energy additions. We're going to add electrons to the grid through uprates. We're going to restart big reactors that have shuttered prematurely due to economic circumstances. We're going to be looking into new ways to manufacture fuel and get that nuclear fuel supply chain built up. And then we're also going to do a bunch of other things in terms of, and this is coming directly from the executive orders, but actually dealing with the back end of things. The president's executive orders explicitly state his support for reprocessing, for example. In the past, the United States government has either been anti-reprocessing or recently it's just been kind of neutral towards reprocessing. The president told us to go explore reprocessing both commercially and from the defense side of things. So by 2027, I mean, I expect us to take a huge step forward on the back end.
Okay, last question. What keeps you in this fight? What's your personal why in one sentence?
When you think of nuclear energy from an objective perspective, objectively speaking, the benefits of nuclear outweigh other energy sources. From the firmness of it, from the baseload capacity factor, from the cleanliness of it, from the innovation side of things. Objectively speaking, it outweighs other energy sources. And if we are really trying to meet the electricity demands, energy demands that our country is going to have in the coming month, in the coming year, in the coming 10 years, the only solution here is more nuclear.
More nuclear. I love that. So, Chris, I must say, this has been an amazing conversation, really a great breath of fresh air in this month. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, your experiences, and then also your passion. I heard it throughout your entire story and even the answers to the questions that naturally actually progressed throughout our conversation. So thank you.
Of course. And I mean, just final cherry on the top, I wouldn't be here without everybody that I've run into in the last 5, 6, 7 years. I've worked with some amazing people in Congress, at the Department of Energy, Office of Nuclear Energy, the front office, Office of Policy, my current job at Mission Strategies. I mean, I've worked with some real experts and I've learned so much. And I mean, I couldn't do it without everybody else. And we're all moving in the right direction. Uh, but I just wanted to give credit to, I can't name everybody, but just want to give credit to others.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Um, Talking to you today, it is abundantly clear that the nuclear renaissance, if I'm able to say that, it isn't just a slogan. It's the timelines, the timeliness, the supply chains, the licensing, the people, and even the execution. I loved that you foot stomped the importance of not just talking about it, but putting action to it, executing, doing something about it. And I mean, your experience speaks to what you believe. You've put action to what you believe. So thank you so much again for your time and sharing your story and experiences.
Of course, thank you for the opportunity.
Now, listeners, that is exactly what UCAN Power is here for. Educating, advocating, and accelerating advanced reactors across defense and commercial applications. Follow UCAN Power, share this episode with one person, and stay close to this space. We need builders, as you've heard today. I'm Dominic Cooper, and this is Advanced Nuclear. See you next time. Thanks for joining us on Advanced Nuclear, powered by UCAN Power. If this episode brought clarity to the future of American energy, share it with someone shaping policy or industry. I'm Dominic Cooper. This is the moment. This is the movement. See you on the next episode.